नमस्कार के साथ आपका स्वागत है और मेरा सौभाग्य है कि मैं आज स्वागत कर रहा हूँ एक ऐसे प्रतिभाशाली बालक का जिनसे हम पहले भी मिल चुके हैं एंड दैट अमेजिंग Advay joins me this time from his own home, and what brings him with us today makes all of us feel proud about him being a part of that group of talented students who are recognized by prestigious John Hopkins Center for Talented Youth Talent Search for his exceptional performance. So, Advay, welcome. Namaste. How are you?
I am doing well.
Very nice. Now, I see you have shifted your interest from countries and maps and currencies to something else. So how that shift happened?
Well, I didn't have as much time to do my countries and maps. So, and one night I was, as always, reading a book. And so, in this particular book, it happened to mention amino acids and how they fit together. And so, I decided to draw some shapes, each one representing a different amino acid. And then I went up to my mother with a question that, so are there any restrictions on how they fit together? And she said that, well, let me tell you about what the amino acids are. So then she explained that, and I was really curious to learn more about this, and so that's how I got interested in organic chemistry, and I've also really liked coding a lot.
So now, what your focus is coding? Is that what you said?
Well, my focus I have two focuses, organic chemistry and coding.
So let us go one by one. And even before we go towards coding with Advay Mishra, let me learn a little bit more about the honor which has come your way for your exceptional performance by John Hopkins Center for Talented Youth Talent Search. What was this? Can you share what was the process? How were you chosen?
So what this was an online test which had a proctoring system, and so we took this test and it would measure our scores and see if we were talented. And so if we were talented, we would be led into a group called the Center for Talented Youth. And so here you can take all sorts of different courses, which I did. I have taken the physics course.
And what was special about that physics course online as compared to the way it is taught in your school?
Well, one thing that I think was really nice was that there was a special instructor, so you could ask this instructor questions. Also, it was very interactive. You had a quiz, and you also had a tutorial, and like in this tutorial that you could run simulations and other things.
Wonderful. Now let us go towards the way your mind functions. When I was talking to you about maps and flags of different countries, you had them right here. So when your interest shifted from that part towards organic chemistry, help me understand, what is it about chemistry that you found very interesting, and instead of playing some games, you felt that this is something that you want to go deep into?
Well, I think it was really just working with the atoms and seeing how they can come together to form all these different molecules. And so it's sort of like Legos, you see, and Legos is so much fun for a lot of kids around the world, I know. But instead of different Lego bricks, you have different atoms like carbon and hydrogen and nitrogen and oxygen.
So let's say if you have a younger friend who doesn't understand much about chemistry, but he asks you, Advay, tell me, what is organic chemistry? How would you define chemistry? Is there some way in simple words that you can explain that?
Well, chemistry is the study of atoms and how they bond together.
And what are atoms?
Atoms are very, very small structures of protons, which represent positive charge, neutrons, which have no charge, and electrons, which have negative charge, all grouped together. And so the electrons are actually around the protons and neutrons. But that's basically what an atom is.
And you said it is about their bonding. So how they bond, that makes all the difference?
Yes, and which atoms are bonding to each other. Like a carbon bonding to an oxygen is different from a carbon bonding to a hydrogen.
And this bonding depends on what? It is natural, or it is something that artificially can be manipulated?
The answer is both. Bonding occurs all the time in nature, but you can also synthesize materials in a lab.
And what is fascinating about artificially creating certain bondings, as you have taken some interest in organic chemistry, where do you feel it is applicable in your life, or potentially something where you can do something with organic chemistry that might create an impact which may be relevant for everyone?
Well, certainly we have a very big problem facing us right now. Plastic. Plastic we thought was useful, but it doesn't decompose. So I think that if I worked hard, I might be able to synthesize a material that is similar to plastic, but it is biodegradable.
So you have already started thinking about finding solutions which might address larger concerns. At your age, when, or even for that matter at any age, we start personifying this area which is of our interest. So we develop some relationship with a particular chemical. Some people like H2, some people like O2, just in their fancy. So keeping that in a lighter side, going with your interest, is there any chemical or compound that you feel you find more fascinating than others?
Well, I would certainly say that I would like to give special mentions to a few molecules, including cubane, all the epoxides, and especially formaldehyde, just because of its name. I mean, formaldehyde. Get it?
Absolutely. As we speak, and I know many kids at your age would not have heard much about organic chemistry, and you seem to have developed a friendship of sort with organic chemistry. So as you grow, do you think you will sustain your interest in this branch of knowledge, or you're likely to shift?
It's probably not very likely. I have grown very, very devoted, but still, it's not that I'll stuck to organic chemistry. I might still have new fields of interest.
And you were talking about coding also. That's right? Coding in computers, or what?
Yes, I am currently coding in the Python computing language, and so I find that a lot of fun because it is so logical, and like and I just find it fun to make the code and then debug it, and like I just find it fun most of all when the program actually works and I get to play around with the result.
Wow, I'm really impressed because I myself do not know much about Python and coding, and so let me learn a little bit more. While everything is on your fingertips, when I say while, most of the computer users are looking at some applications which are ready-made. It could be social media, it could be these Facebook, WhatsApp, etc., and of course email and all these things. So you make use of them and you do what you want to do. That is one part, or you play some computer games. But this is another side, which is the back end side of computers, that is coding. Now, is it very complicated, Advay, or you you think it is easy to understand?
Well, if you go step by step and don't try to take very large steps at a time, I think that coding is actually very easy to understand.
Is it fun?
Well, as long as you have a result that you can play around with, it is.
And when was your aha moment in your playing or experimenting with coding? And first, let us talk about aha moment, and then we'll talk about frustrating moment.
I think that the aha moment would be that when I started to look at a program and I thought about back at how at earlier and like how I have grown, and so that was the aha moment, that you have to go step by step.
And when you get stuck with some problem in coding, what do you do?
Well, what I tend to do is I will work very, very hard and analyze the code step by step. Sometimes I'll even go through the code like I'm a computer and run it in my mind.
And how many hours do you think you devote to coding, learning coding, and sort of learning more about organic chemistry, in addition to whatever is your school its demands on your time?
I'd say 1 to 2 hours, maybe 3 hours per day.
Very nice. And what do you do to relax? Like, is it relaxing, or there is another activity which makes you laugh more or enjoy more?
Well, I find that organic chemistry is actually a lot of fun to do, and so it's coding, but I'll often also do reading.
And what do you read?
I don't really have a favorite genre, but I do work with fiction and non-fiction a lot. I mean, of course, those are the only two genres. So, like, I like long books that will keep you interested, and also books with all sorts of interesting fun facts, like The Disappearing Spoon. Well, I won't list the whole title, but it's by Sam Keen.
So, reading books is enriching, and some books you want to share with others also. Your friends, or sometimes you have read it and you want your mom or your dad to read. Is there any favorite book of that kind, whether fiction or non-fiction?
Well, I would say that I have 4. One I've already mentioned, The Disappearing Spoon by Sam Keen. The other 3 are the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, The Chronicles of Prydain by Lloyd Alexander, and also The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper.
Wonderful. And as we are moving towards the concluding part of our conversation, I want you to talk to me when you were paying so much attention to flags and currencies of different countries. Was there any desire for you to sort of see the world, to travel more and interact with people directly?
Well, I do indeed love traveling, but I would not say that there was a very large desire because of this. I think it was that this was because of that desire.
Wonderful. And once again, at your age, what you dream may change, as has already happened, from maps, currencies, to organic chemistry, to coding. So keeping that open, still, is there anything at this point of time in your mind that if I accomplish this, or if I become this, I would be very, very satisfied and happy?
Well, it's always been my goal to become an inventor/programmer, but I'm really still open to to new challenges.
New challenges would always come your way, Advay, and the opportunities that come when you make something happen. For example, what we are talking about right now is being honored in the John Hopkins Center for Talented Youth Talent Search. How do you think it helps you in opening up to more learning and realizing more of your own inner joy through learning?
Well, certainly there are a lot of courses that I can take from the CDY, and so that I feel has really opened me up to a lot of new fields like balancing equations, which I learned about in my physics course.
Very good. And what makes you laugh, Advay?
I would say, well, pretty much any joke.
So, do you have any favorite joke which you can share with our viewers?
Well, well. One joke I really like is what is at the beginning of everything, at the end of every place, at the end of time, at the end of space.
What is it?
It's the letter E.
I'll also share one similar joke which my son at your age was very fond of. And why did the astronaut did not land on the moon?
Because he was off course?
No, because it was full moon.
Oh.
So these one-line jokes sometimes come very handy in smiling. And we wish you a lot of success. And do you think you might have not liked sometimes guidance coming from your parents, or every time that you have invested your time in learning, it has come from within, or was there any persuasion which you feel took away your joy?
I really think that it has always been from within.
That is very important. And any news item that you think is worth learning for kids these days that you came across, maybe from space or from science or any field?
Well, there are several new discoveries that are going on, like the Nobel Prize was recently awarded for the CRISPR gene tool editor.
Nobel Prize awarded to?
The Nobel Prize was awarded to a group of gene editing scientists who have made a gene editor called CRISPR.
And what is that?
Well, what it does is, like, you know how you have strands of DNA? So what it does is basically it'll open up the strands and edit how they're structured. Like DNA might have the structure ATTA, it might modify it to TAAT. Very
good. And as we move toward the concluding part of our conversation, one thing which I want to learn from you, Advay, is this artificial intelligence is very much talked about these days, and looks like in many ways computers have started overtaking the role that humans are playing. Do you think it is good, or you think it is balanced, or how do you look at the role artificial intelligence is playing or is likely to play in how human interaction functions?
Well, I would certainly say that an increasing role of artificial intelligence is amazing because computers cannot be corrupted. However, artificial intelligence has one very large fallacy, or at least we need to edit artificial intelligence and make it better, because still, if we give artificial intelligence biased data, artificial intelligence will give biased results.
So now, when we talk about computers, another concern is the way you relate to another human being is also changing because of the presence of computers and many things, and robots are also going to become part of our lives, and we'll have auto run cars on the streets, etc. You are fascinated by that world, or you feel that it would take away some sort of a human touch?
Well, I would certainly say that this might make the world much better, but we do need to make sure that it's moderate. If we have the AI doing everything for us, then it wouldn't be considered an invention. It would be taking away the humanity, and it's often synthesized in sci-fi that maybe the computers may even end up taking over the world and humanity may be eradicated.
In this context, what is the new discovery that you would like to see happen, or you yourself would like to pursue something which you feel is not there yet?
Well, something that I feel would be really a huge scientific breakthrough was that if we could achieve artificial general intelligence, which is basically a computer brain. Now that seems like it's AI, but AI is simply a data set that a computer recognizes patterns. With a GI, a computer can learn everything that a human brain can. This is the goal of AI, in fact.
So that you think is worth discovering?
Yes, because this would mean that we would not have to do as much work, but we would still have to do some work. It would also open up job opportunities for building these robots and AGI. Basically, job opportunities for researchers in perfecting AGI.
And now let me ask you, we learned about your interest in science and knowledge and information. What about art? Do you like any of the art form, maybe listening to music or?
Well, I certainly love playing the piano, and there is also an online thing called Chrome Music Lab, which I personally enjoy playing on.
Very good, very good. So as we let you go, Advay, as I was talking to you, it was not like talking to a kid. It was like talking to a mature person. Do you feel that you, while interact with your other friends who are your age group, they relate to you well, or they feel that it is difficult to understand Advay?
Well, I do have a lot of friends who are really good. Like they do not like run away from me or anything. Like they are my class is actually very comfortable with me. So why would not say that?
I want that to happen, and to sustain that, you need to relate to people where they are, and you are aware of it. And one suggestion or request or recommendation I would make is keep smiling. And that sometimes takes away the immediate stress, as well as, of course, it works in different individuals in different ways, but it helps you improve your creativity and seek solutions, whatever be the field. Makes sense a little bit, or doesn't make sense?
I completely agree. I would say that you will never be able to work at your full potential if you're not happy.
So I'm very happy. So we worked on our full potential, Advay. Anything as we conclude, you may want to say about someone who you consider as your role model, or someone who inspired you a lot?
Well, I would certainly say that I love looking up to other scientists like Pythagoras and Einstein.
Wonderful. So congratulations to Pythagoras and Einstein that Advay Mishra is looking up to you. And it was a pleasure talking to you, Advay, with lots and lots of good wishes to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
So on that note, as we say thanks to Advay, I thank all of you for being a part of this interesting and stimulating conversation with blessing and love for Advay, and thanks and lots of good wishes for each one of you. This is Ashok Vyas.